Hey guys, I hope you are doing well, swimming fast. A couple of things. Oh, like and subscribe. That's not one of the couple of things, but like and subscribe, please and thank you. The first thing is sectionals update. That is in a couple of days. So the next episode will be my sectionals swim. And I just found out that it is going to be short course prelims and finals. So I get 2 shots at the 200, yay. But still only 1 shot at the 100 because we're flying out to Mexico after prelims. Boo. Don't tell my wife I said that. The second thing is I want to add my 2 cents to the Owen Lloyd disqualification discussion and talk about emotions in swimming. And shout out to Sean Murphy, who commented on the last video about this, wanting to know my thoughts and said, hey, you should do an episode on emotions. So here we are. So Owen Lloyd, just to bring you up to speed if you're not familiar, Owen Lloyd is the senior NC State swimmer who competed in the mile at ACC Championships last week and did phenomenally well. He won, crushed a personal best time, got the NCAA qualification, automatic qualification time, which, I mean, that is so hard to do, and got the ACC Championship meet record. I mean, every reason to celebrate, right? And the way he celebrated, unfortunately, was to sit on the lane rope, as more and more swimmers are doing, and flex a little bit, but he lost his balance and fell in. And for that, a referee decided that he broke the following rule in the rule book that says you may not interfere with another swimmer's race, and this is subject to the discretion of the referee. That's really the key line there. Now, if you're looking at it and going, the guy in the lane next to him was his teammate who finished the race before he started celebrating. There was no interference there. How can this be called? Well, again, discretion of the referee. You see, this rule is so broadly stated that it allows a referee who has certain perspectives on the way swimmers should behave to administer punishments based on behavior that they do not like, which is essentially what happened here, because he clearly did not interfere with any other swimmer's race. And to think that would be to think that every other swimmer in that race was so obsessed with Owen Lloyd that the entire race, all they were doing was looking at Owen. And when they saw him on the lane rope and fall in, they went, oh, my race is over. I cannot possibly continue. The absurdity of it is just wild. And any rational person hearing all of this would be thinking, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Well, surely this is a rogue referee who had a stick up their butt and they are fired, and nobody else agrees with this. That is where you would be wrong. You see, when you go to SwimSwam, you see lots of colorful commenters, including on this article, Mr. or Mrs. No judgment, someone, Spiker pool lap swimmer, who agrees and thinks that Mr. Owen has been taught a good lesson for his rash behavior. And yet another former Big Ten, I'm assuming swimmer, who thinks that Owen and every swimmer should know every single rule in the rule book, and yet even if you knew this rule, you would interpret it as not actually actively interfering with a swimmer, which he did not do. But again, what this does is allow for people with certain perspectives and opinions on how swimmers should behave to punish those with different opinions. And where does all of this come from, you might be asking? Well, that's a good question. You see, swimming is one of 3 country club sports: swimming, tennis, and golf, all of which have their histories, their cultures rooted in a sense of propriety. You don't have to look too far back to see this. Tennis rules used to state that every player wore white uniforms. Tennis has evolved quite a bit. You see a lot of color in the uniforms, a lot of emotion, celebration on the court. Swimming has evolved very little, and you don't have to look much farther than this team photo to see that. All white uniforms conveying a sense of decency, propriety, gentlemanly, ladylike behavior, purity. And to be clear, 1, not all meet referees at every meet dress like this. Some wear blue pants. Second, I am not saying that that the way meet refs dress is the source of our problem. No, this is just to illustrate that at every level, in every way, we communicate to swimmers, this kind of behavior is acceptable, and this kind of behavior, like Owen Lloyd displayed, is not acceptable. And we will punish you for stepping out of bounds, even though you did not interfere with anyone else's race. We will punish you because this violates our norms, or in this case, my individual set of norms and opinions and perspective on what you should be doing. And it tamps down the emotion that swimmers are entitled to have. And you can't have sport without emotion. Imagine showing up to any competition with an attitude of, this is fine. And of all the athletes out there, swimmers most deserve to be emotional because ours is the hardest sport. But the problem swimming has is that you can't see what's going on. Heck, you can't even see the swimmer's face most of the time. You see a body moving back and forth, and it's all kind of calm and quiet. And at the end of it, there's a time on the board. Nobody really knows what that means except the swimmer and their coach. And you compare that to a land sport where you can see the action, you can see the emotion, you can see the players' faces, and you expect emotion. You expect that when a football player steps out on the field, their emotions will be sky high, anger bordering on psychopathic, and that they will express that violent emotion throughout the game. And their successes at expressing that violence will be celebrated in the most obnoxious ways. But not in swimming, where we are rooted in calm, quiet, collected. Even though we have the impossible task of treating water like it is a solid object, to pull ourselves over it, not through it, as fast as we can, using terms like grabbing lots of water, pulling lots of water that no non-swimmer understands. And they're like, what? You can grab this much water right here. What? And on top of that, our opponent, water, does not get tired. On top of that, we have to work with our opponent, not against it, or we go slower. And every day feels like we are getting our asses handed to us, like it is a losing battle because we are doing the impossible, so that at the end of a season, we can maybe realize our hopes and dreams of dropping a few tenths of a second. And to have the success taken from you because someone decided that they didn't like the way you celebrated. And the way you celebrated was outside the norms of our culture. It's bullshit. And if you are still not convinced that this was an arbitrary decision made based on someone's personal preferences and outdated norms, then I will bring up a great point that Amy Van Dyken made. She's an Olympian and she was a commentator at this meet. Just a few minutes after Owen Lloyd's disqualification, the backstrokers got into the water for their race and some dove in. In the rule book, it explicitly states, backstrokers shall enter the water feet first. There is no mention of ref's discretion. And yet no one was disqualified for that. Last thing I want to say about this. Swimmers have come to accept that we will never get the respect that we deserve. And we're okay with that, mostly. But in the absence of a roaring crowd celebrating a swimmer for a success that only they know the depths of, let them celebrate themselves. At the very least, they've done the impossible. And in some cases, they've gone through hell and back to do it. So that's my take. I would love to hear your thoughts. Next week, you don't want to miss that episode. It's going to be great. Either way, no matter which way sectionals goes, there's some waxing involved. You can have a laugh at my expense. But until then, good luck with your swimming. Swim different. And remember to celebrate your successes.